Welcome back or welcome to whichever is the case for you. If you've followed this podcast since I started at the first of the year, I appreciate you joining me on this journey. And if you're new, thanks for joining. And I hope that you get what I want people to get out of the entire goal for me doing this podcast. And it's my goal for people to see that they have it within them to do amazing things. That's the entire goal. So this episode will be released the day before what will be my 18th year in recovery, March 25th of 2007. And that is a really cool thing. So I'm going to continue talking about the story of my life. And I left off in about, 2013, 14. Me and Katrina are married. We're living together. We have our grandson, Anthony, who at the time was a toddler. We have him live with us for 5 months. He ends up going back to his mom's because she turns her life around. Tyler would start turning his life around not too long after that, maybe a year, maybe less. He would go to treatment for the second time and then really start on his journey in recovery. And this May, he will actually celebrate 11 years in recovery. So yeah, that's about right. That puts him at 2014. Yeah, my memory's not as bad as everyone says it is. That's kind of a joke. My son always gives me a bad time. So there's your shout out to you, son. But he'll celebrate 11 years this year. So in this period of time, 2014, 15, I'm full-time teaching at Central Washington University in IT management. I get the joy, this was a really cool thing. I got to apply and got selected to co-lead study abroad trips for students in our major. And so I went on that trip 2 years, and it was 2015 and 2016, or was it 2016, 2017? I don't remember for sure. 1 year I go with colleagues and it was a 4-week trip to Central Europe, 5 countries: Austria, Hungary, Czech Republic, Poland, and Slovakia. That was amazing. So my work on campus is really going well. And something I've always been good at is really creating a place for myself wherever I work. And I'm doing that in my work at campus during this time. I'm serving on committees. I'm diving in. I've always said, as far as my work being a college professor, I don't just teach and then leave. I want to do more. So I don't think this early on I'm advising yet, but I know I was involved. I was a course lead. I still have been for this one class. I'm doing the study abroad trip. I think I might be close to starting to serve on faculty senate. I think maybe I was an alternate senator at this time. But we love our neighborhood. We're living in the home we bought in 2012, which we still own. It's now a rental, and we still live in the same neighborhood though, in downtown Ellensburg. But at this time, we're loving living in our home. Katrina is working for the city. She at the time she's running the Adult Activity Center, and we're enjoying life. Tyler, he starts turning his life around, and that was, oh man. For any of my friends listening to this who are parents of kids who have struggled with addiction, and because of Tyler's trajectory, he actually just poked his head in and then left. When you have a child in active addiction, and I think especially when you've been in active addiction yourself and you kind of see what's coming. And for me, I can say, if you've been following along, the terrible choice that I had made to participate in active addiction with him when I returned to use in 2006-7, I felt guilty about that. Of course, when you have a child who ends up with active addiction, there's a constant weight of what could I have done different? Why did I screw this up? It was a lot. And Tyler's trajectory was such that you hear this, but this was the reality. I was waiting. I was just preparing myself for him to die. And that was a lot. And, but he didn't. And he found his way back to recovery. He goes to treatment again, to the same place, and he jumps into recovery, and he meets a girl, and he goes into his first marriage. And it was 2015. Yep, it was that grandson number 2. I always say that grandson number 1 and grandson number 2 holds no numerical value as far as who I love more, just the order they came in. That's my dad joke, grandpa joke. But Alark would be born December 15th of 2015. Tyler's married to Ashley, and Ashley has her boys, and Tyler's life really turns a corner, powerfully so. He starts his own journey in school. He wants to be a counselor, and he starts going to school at YVC, and that's right, he did firefighting. One of his first jobs in recovery was firefighting, and he still wildland firefighting. He still talks about it. He really enjoyed that work and was really good at it. But then he goes into the counseling arena, and I'm pretty sure he started at JOTC, which is an all-male inpatient treatment center, the same place that he had been a client of twice before. And his life is going well. And as a dad, seeing him really get excited about recovery, and turning it around, and you can just see it. And the change was real. Going backwards, I remember Katrina and I's wedding in the fall of 2012. We laugh about it now, but Tyler was like, he was so high at that wedding. And we look at the pictures, he was, so skinny. So skinny. Oof. But let's go to 2015. He's turned his life around, and he's doing amazing things. He's being a father to his boys. And it is good. Katrina and I, like I said, we're, if I go through these years of 2015, 16, 17, 18, we get on just our kind of, Katrina and I click. Like our relationship is right now, to this day in 2025, strong. It always has been. And the change for me is what I've talked about through this podcast, telling the story of my life to this point, is I was okay with David, and I wasn't looking for value for my individuality, I can talk, through a woman. I was okay with me. And Katrina was okay with her. It's interesting because her and I, previous to dating, we were friends. We knew each other. We were involved in each other's lives as friends. And I remember her walking through her own journey, coming into her own. And I kind of did that same thing. So then, later in life, I think I've said this, Katrina and I have an age gap. So she did this at a younger age. And so then when we started dating, we had both done a lot of individual work. It continues to this day, I guess, in some ways. But the issues that I had in all of my previous relationships, just aren't there with Katrina and I. And I don't think it's like some magical thing or some like, oh, it's meant to be. Like, I think it's meant to be, but it's also on purpose. We on purpose, by design, with our marriage, do things regularly to take care of ourselves and take care of our marriage, and it's pretty powerful. So that's all happening during this period of time. 2015, 16, 17, 18. We get in a regular routine. My work is good. If I looked at my journals, and it's interesting. I don't have a lot of journaling during this time period. A guy who's journaled so much, I looked on my online journal, and in my journal, my print journal, I didn't journal much during this time period. In fact, if I look at my online journal, I'm going to go to 2017. October 11th, 2017. I often think, who will read my journals when I'm gone? My son, Katrina, Anthony, Alaric? It's interesting to think about this. Sometimes when I'm thinking this way, I try to write in a manner that will make sense to someone who might read it after I die. Just my thought in the moment. I have a journal that I write in with a pen. My educated guess is it hasn't been 5 years since I last journaled. It has probably been a while, but not 5 years. And in my print journal, it had been 4 years. And that's interesting. And nothing bad. I think I just really, if I think about that period of my life, we were in just a really good groove. I was just living and going, teaching, just doing the thing. So anyway, let me keep reading. Currently, overall, life is amazing. I have a career I love, teaching at CW, now going into my 6th year. I'm in my 2nd or 3rd year of my pursuit to get a DR, doctor, before my name. Do I doubt this will end up happening? Some, but based on my track record of accomplishing things in the last 20 years, it will happen. Katrina and I just celebrated 5 years of marriage, and we are going to continue forward with our happiness we have together. She is nothing short of amazing in so many ways. She knows me so well. She knows how to love me in a way that I have never had before. Our conflict, which has been a key indicator in the demise of my previous relationships, is completely different than I have ever experienced. When we have conflict, neither of us ends up feeling massive negativity afterwards. I love her more than ever. And here comes Tyler. Tyler, oh my God. Tyler is doing amazing, amazing, amazing. He is now a counselor in training to become it was at the time, CDP. He has been at the same job for over 3 years and is now in long-term recovery himself. He is married, and between him and Ashley, they have 5 boys. Anthony is almost 7, and Alaric, new to the family, is almost 2. So proud of Tyler. I'm 50 now. Wow. How did that happen? It's all good. I don't feel 50, whatever that's supposed to feel like. I just feel like I'm living an amazing life. Life is good, very good indeed. It was in this time period, because I remember my 50th birthday party, that Katrina and I try our hand at being foster parents. Because we were trying to have a child. Like I said, I had the reversal, and we tried as best we could, and we decided along the way that we weren't going to do any fertility test, or we just, if it was meant to be, it was meant to be, and it wasn't happening. And I don't remember how we came to the decision to do this, but we decided to become foster parents. And we did it for less than 6 months. We went through all the training, and we got 2 boys, brothers. And I think when looking back, you can't say, but if I think about it looking back, I think if maybe we would have just started with 1, we might have had a better outcome. But it was a lot. Anyone who does foster parenting for the long term, my hat's off to you. But it was a lot. Anyone in foster care has so many people from state systems interacting with them on so much of a regular basis, and different people. It's not always the same people. I would be the one who would end up saying I just couldn't do it. And I remember that time period. I know it was very difficult for Katrina. And we talked about it. We had conversations about it. And I remember we really value her parents' input. Mom and Dad Kell from my side of the street are very wise adults, lived their lives in a manner much like me and Katrina do. And so I remember meeting with them because I wanted, let's talk to Mom and Dad. Let's get some input. And something they said just really stuck with me. And that's where we decided to discontinue being foster parents, as they said, how the Kells do it. If you're asking us for advice, because they've never interfered with our relationship. They've always been amazing. They'll give advice if you ask it, but they're not going to be pushy or anything like that. And I remember Mom and Dad saying, your marriage comes first. And, you need to keep that at the forefront. The foster boys come second. This situation comes second. Your marriage comes first. And so we did it. We did try it. And for me, it was just too much. The other struggle that I had, not just that so many state entities and people were in and out of these boys' lives on so much of a regular basis, even with us as foster parents, that was normal. What was a huge struggle for me is at any time they could be yanked. Not because we did something wrong, but, there are so many different factors to this, and the goal is for the biological parents to get them back, as I think it should be if they were to turn things around. Now, this situation, I'm not sure but they could. And it was so much uncertainty for me that made it too much. That would happen in this time period. I think I mentioned that when I got, and this is going backwards, I got my dog Chiba. So we have Chiba the German Shepherd. Anyone listening to this that knows us, you remember Chiba. And then I love telling the story of how we got Daisy the Chihuahua. I'm a big dog guy. And I remember we moved in together. It wasn't too long after we moved in together that my soon-to-be wife says, I think someday I might like to get a little dog. And I'm like, oh, God. Well, and then right at this time period, this is going backwards to like 2012, 13 at the most, that there had been a dog rescue operation. Law enforcement had taken like 150 dogs from this puppy mill. It was just a horrid situation. And so they had split them up between a few different counties at dog pounds. And so I'm like, well, let's go down to the pound and see what they have. Knowing in my brain, I'm like, oh God, there's Chihuahuas. I don't want a Chihuahua. But I love Katrina. And, if I've got my big dog, I've got to compromise and let her get her. So anyway, we go down there and they're like, hey, go outside and we'll open up the run and we'll let the dogs out and you can look at them. Yeah. So we go. And they open up the pen door from the inside and like 50 dogs come running out. And Katrina, the sensitive woman she is in this way, starts crying. She's like, oh my God, I want to take them all home. I'm like, well, we're not taking them all home. And so we looked at them for a minute and then we left. And I'm like, well, was there anyone that you saw that you thought you might like? She said, well, there was a little white one with black spots. It's the only one that had a pink collar on. I'm like, okay. So Daisy came into our family. And that little girl's still kicking. She is 14 and a half years old. Chiba would live, when I get there, which may be in this episode, maybe not, to be 13 and a half. She would pass in March of 2021. So back to this time period of 2017, I'm trying to think, my mom and I, our relationship would really turn a corner in a very positive way. One, she would move to Ellensburg. I have to go backwards. It was 2012. We hadn't been in our house long. That mom calls me one day, and she had split up with the guy in Spokane. She had been with him for quite a while, about a decade-ish at this point, but that didn't work. And so she was living with my sister in Tacoma. And she called me one fateful day and she says, "Oh, honey, I'm coming to Ellensburg." And I'm thinking, "Oh, wow, Mom, that's great. Are you coming to see me?" She says, "Well, yeah, I'd like to see you while I'm there, but I'm also going to meet a guy and I'd like you to go with me." I'm like, "Oh my God, Mother. Okay." Now, this is 2013, so online dating's a thing, but it's not as normal as a thing as it is now. And also I'm like, "Okay, Mom, you're not coming to see me. You're coming to meet this guy." Now, so she comes, and she ends up meeting John, and that would be my mother's, in my view, outside of Johnny and Tom, Uncle Tom, Dad, the best decision. Her picker was like spot on. John, I still have a relationship with John to this day, but Mom would move to Ellensburg. Like, that's what Mom did. Mom meets a guy. Her behavior in relationships, while it would slow down some, would be continued. Like, she would meet him and move in and get married. That's how she rolled. So she met him, and she moved pretty quickly to Ellensburg. But that would be the period of time where Mom and I would start connecting on a level that I'd always wanted. As a boy, I wanted my mom's attention. I'm the youngest of four, so, I was always like, "Oh, there's David. We better not forget him." Like, literally, I got forgotten a couple times. Not a joke. In a snowstorm in Ocean Shores, of all places. My siblings left me upstairs in this A-frame we were in when a window blew out because of the storm. Maybe it wasn't a snowstorm. I don't remember. They say it was. But then my mom's like, "Where's David?" They're like, "Oh, crap. We forgot about him." So here we are, speeding fast forward, 50 years old, and I would have the best years ever with my mom from then until when she passes in 2019. She would meet John, they would move in, and they would move into a little garage converted into a house. It was a cute little place. It was perfect for them. They would live there until Mom passes. And during this time period from 2012-13 till, 6 years, it felt longer. I guess because it was more than I ever had before. The relationship with my mom would be good. Me and Katrina would create, one thing that being with Katrina and she's done for me. Katrina's done so much for me. She helped me really ramp up my financial literacy, healthy finances, but creating structure. I had it before, but her mom and dad are like not most structured, not like staunchy, but anyway, so we had that. And with my mom, we would go over there every Saturday and sit with her and have coffee. I would take my mom to the store as her health started declining. She needed more help. We were able to be there for her a lot. And that meant the world to me. So that was going on. My mom moved to Ellensburg for a little while. My niece would move to Ellensburg with her husband at the time and their son. And that was nice. I miss her living there. I think I brought up niece Dawn was still living here at this time. She had moved here years prior. And when I was with Stephanie, this is going back to Stephanie and I living out in the cabin. I remember my sister calling me. So probably 2003-ish. My sister would call me, and because I was in recovery, she knew that. And she says, "Hey, I can get Dawn. If I can get Dawn to go to treatment, will you let her live with you afterwards?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so Dawn would go to treatment and then come live with us. And it wouldn't take long for little Donner. She met a guy and would marry. I remember I did bring him up in one episode. So but this 2017, 16, 17, 15, in that era, life is pretty good. Life is pretty good. I have strong connections in the community. I have this idea. Again, this may come up in this one, maybe a little later. I start formulating an idea and a plan to create a recovery community organization in the community. That starts rolling around in my head because I had done research in my master's program in the arena of recovery from substance use disorders. And that's where I got the first thought of, wow, oh, this is what I want to talk about. In the previous episode, I closed with how me and Katrina just kind of naturally shifted our individual lives in recovery and how we support that. For me, I started having a different view on how to live a life in recovery. And I hope people listen to this in a way that you can receive it. When I was doing research for my master's program, what I did is you have to do research, right? So read about different things in the recovery arena. It was the first time I learned that there are multiple ways to get to and stay in recovery. Previous to this, I only knew let me stay on track. I only knew of 12-step programs. That's all I really knew. I had kind of heard mutterings about, I had heard smart recovery, but what I was hearing, what I learned was wrong. I had learned about moderation management. That was really like, oh no, you can't do that. Harm reduction was starting to become a term, but a lot of people in recovery are like, oh, that's not recovery, and I was kind of in that camp. A lot of your treatment centers still to this day are in that mindset. And when I did this research, I learned, oh my gosh, and then I started thinking about, I actually knew people who had significant issues with drugs or alcohol, and they had used their religious organization. They never went to treatment, or they just stopped and just started living a healthy life. There are people that do that. My biological father was one, and that didn't really come to terms with me until I had done this research. And now to this day, I know many people who do a variety of different ways in supporting their life in recovery. So that, for me, was kind of the eye-opener that, oh, there are different ways to do this. And that's okay, right? There's a lot of stigma in the field. I actually learned about, oh yeah, the negative terms that we use to describe people with this behavioral health condition. It's all fueled by the drug war, right? I can do a whole nother podcast on the drug war. In fact, I'm going to put that on my schedule. So that knowledge that I gained in my graduate program, which was in 2011, 2012, that started in my brain, and I would still read about it. I started following an organization called Facing Addiction. I started doing advocacy work on a state, and I remember I've been to DC twice now, advocating for change in this arena. And in fact, I think the first time I went to DC was 2016, maybe 17. I went to Capitol Hill to lobby for change. So kind of a little bit of a backstory on my views, how my views on living a life in recovery changed. That actually is where it stemmed from. And it's why I believe what I do about recovery today, which is there is no one way to do this, right? If 12-step works for you, that's awesome. If church works for you, that's great. If smart recovery works for you, that's great. If harm reduction works for you, that's great. Some people cringe at this when I say this. I know I had a friend who lived in this town. He was the preacher at my wife's church. He was on the streets, my friends, like me, just downtrodden out, no good for nothing, right? Blah, 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 criminal, methamphetamines. And he stopped. He stopped methamphetamine use, and he never went to treatment. He did it through his religious beliefs, and he found God and did it that way. And he hasn't touched methamphetamines in decades. He drinks wine once in a while. Great. That sounds like recovery to me, right? He never had a problem with alcohol. He had a massive problem with methamphetamines. That works for him. There are people who, now you hear about medication assisted treatment now, where people take medicine to stop the cravings for opiates and they can live a healthy life. Good for them. I always say this: has their life improved? Stop putting these real hard markers on what recovery should be and shouldn't be, and look at the whole of their life. Has their life improved? I digress there a little bit, but I get pretty passionate about that. I have a journal here. Here we go. 12/1 of 2000. Oh, wait. No. I need to read this one. That's where I say I already said I'm a grandfather now. Yep. 11/7/13. Holy moly. It's been a long time. Life is amazing. Master's degree. Wow. Married to, so that's 2017. I talked, no longer a felon. I did that in 2010. Like, a lot of amazing things happened during this time period. So I've scrolled you through 2015, 16, 17. So December of 17, chronicling my life is important to me. Unfortunately, I forget to do it. I'm also scattered with my writings here and online where I write. I think it's all right that I forget to write. Oh, I like this. I think it's all right that I forget to write. For me, that means life is good. Many times over my life, I have journaled a lot when life was shitty. So to have long lapses with my writings mostly means life is much better. And that really explains that gap well. This year, Katrina and I celebrated 5 years of marriage. It has truly been amazing. She is the best thing for me, and I'm grateful for her. Tyler's 27 now, and his life has continued to improve. This year, he started a journey as a counselor. Anthony's 7 now. Alark will be 2. Crazy. Okay? So 2017 is when mom's health she was diagnosed. She would quit smoking like long before, but unfortunately, if you smoked for so long, you can still end up with COPD even years after you quit. And that's what would happen for mom. She developed COPD and would live with COPD for quite a while before her lungs finally just gave up. And the health conditions for her really start ramping up, I would say 2018 for sure. She has to go on oxygen full time. I remember we were at the Fifth Avenue house having dinner, and because she would have these fainting episodes. It was just really weird. And it happened again while we're having dinner. So she goes to the hospital, and I was not letting her leave that hospital until they figured it out, because they couldn't figure it out. And they knew it wasn't related to the COPD. That was a separate issue. But she had a little blip in her heart. I forget what it's called, where just every once in a while her heart would just miss a beat. Long story short, are they ever short stories? My long stories are usually long. She would end up in the hospital, and we were fortunate because the surgeon that came in, they were going to release her. And I was like, hey, listen, we got to figure out, while she was there, literally in that moment in time, it happened. So the surgeon saw it right there on the screen, and that's when they were able to figure it out. And so she got a pacemaker. That would help her. But then her breathing, and that's the COPD. Your lungs just start giving up. She would go on oxygen full time. I remember that. But that would help. And then just the progression of the amount of oxygen had to just keep increasing. And then I'll never forget this, probably 2018, going to my mom's, and my mom always kept a clean home. Okay, that was Mom Gail. Always kept a clean home. And went over, and she was kind of bent over her kitchen counter, leaning on it, and said, David, I just can't do it anymore. She just couldn't. And my amazing wife, we would go over there, I think once a week. And Katrina's so amazing, and clean mom's house for her, and help her out. And it would just progressively get worse. Yeah. So I think for this one, I'm going to wrap it up there. And when I come back for the next episode, we will probably hit 2020. Can you guys believe that? I hope your day is going well, your week's going well, and I hope some part of this helps you to see for yourself that you have it within you to do amazing things. My quote of the day today was about, for recovery, was this: I'm nobody special. If you've listened to any of this, you know my story. I'm just a kid from the streets of Tacoma. Lived a crazy childhood, crazy. And pretty crazy adulthood. And my life literally goes off the rails for a while. And I just have learned skills. I've been willing to listen and learn and just keep going. That's what I do. That's a strong part of Katrina and I's marriage. We just keep going. We're always a team and we just keep going. I want you to have that for yourself. You can do this. You can navigate your own life to recovery and you can turn it around. You can create the life you've always dreamed of. Until next time.